it's all in the performances. So if you actually view it carefully, that it's not so much what you see, it's what you feel.
Haris, congratulations on this film. Haunting in Venice is brilliant. I love the look of this movie. I love that it's a blended murder mystery with a haunted house movie. I think it's perfect for the fall season. You worked on the other two Agatha Christie movies. Can you talk about the evolution of Kenneth Branagh's understanding of this character and how that's helped him as a director?
He really loves Agatha Christie and these novels and this character, and he studied them meticulously. And I think this was a wonderful film to make in that it was a more kind of it's a more unknown film, an unknown story by Christie. It hasn't been interpreted as a film in the past, and it's an adaptation of Halloween Party.
Halloween Party, yeah.
And it was wonderful for us because it was just darker and a more horrific crime and far more intimate in a way. So I think we felt that we had with Belfast. I think we gained a certain confidence with Ken in kind of a simplicity of filmmaking that kind of you earn camera movement, you keep the camera still, and that you delve deeper into the kind of soul and into kind of darker realms by being still and being more observant in that way. So I think those were the elements that kind of drew us into telling this story in a slightly different way than the other two films. I think also just from a kind of an Agatha Christie point of view, she often wrote these. She travelled extensively, more than any other person of that time, really. And through her writings, I think readers could travel with her. And while you travelled and you opened your kind of receptors of learning new cultures and being thrown into these worlds, she would then throw in a crime and go through this kind of really cathartic process of going through a moral dilemma of a kind of crime and punishment and of an understanding of the human condition in these extreme ways. In this case, I think we've not done that part of the taking the audience to a new and wonderful place so much, and we've just dived straight into a post-World War II kind of environment, an older Poirot, and a kind of more haunted Poirot. And in all of this, he is a reluctant detective to begin with. And I think just from that get-go, you just start, in a deeper world, I think.
Right.
A deeper world of the human condition. And that was very, very interesting to follow through and interpret as a story.
Now, all these movies are locked room mysteries, but how did the horror element change your approach with this one?
Again, the terror of this and the horror of this is in the horror of the crime. And although there are kind of elements of the supernatural in this, that in a way that it goes to the very, very crux of Poirot's existence and to the characters around, that the crime is so horrific, it's unfathomable. And although there are horror and ghost elements that are kind of in the story, I think the horror that you feel as an audience member, and I can say this from the point of view of having the best view in the house by the camera, was the performances. I mean, Michelle Yeoh's performance during the seance, I think Kelly's performance, young Jude Hill, it's all in the performances. So if you actually view it carefully, that it's not so much what you see, it's what you feel.
Right.
And I think that's where Ken and I decided to shoot this in such an intimate way, and that we would let these performances shine through and tell the story for us.
Can you talk about working with Ken to kind of set up some clues and how you make it clear enough to remember at the end for a sleuthing audience to pick up without making it obvious?
One of the things is in this film, I think we've slowed the pace down.
Right.
So that's important. There's things that happen, little clues throughout. I think you have to pay attention and just look at the body language, I think, and there are clues in a way. I think we use the camera so sparingly that an adjustment a millimeter up or a millimeter down or a little bit wider, just you'll see things in the frame that I think help gauge. You can gauge everything, not on a. I would not say, Joseph, on a clue level, but I think you should view this in terms of understanding it and maybe trying to be, if you wanted to try and be a slightly ahead of the game on an emotional level. I think that is. I think that's the interpretation we were hoping for, and that if that's the thing that maybe sets this apart from other films in this genre, and maybe and I think that's really the kind of genius that Ken brought to this. His mise en scène there in the body language is incredible.
Now, the last question I have for you is, with this being set in Venice, there's a lot of shots in and on the water. Can you talk about that element of the film?
That was a kind of complex part to play, and some of it is, we obviously shot in real Venice on canals in gondolas, and we were able to get some incredible shots in Venice. But we also shot, we built a kind of, the interior part of the set was built on a soundstage in Pinewood, and it was the only way to kind of get an authentic interior because period authentic palazzo interiors just weren't available for us to shoot in, and we had already chosen an exterior that is an authentic Venetian palazzo, so we had to make the interior work.
Right.
And the way to do that was to just build the inside, but we connected our interior palazzo to a water tank on stage and a boathouse. So all those arrivals, those interior arrivals, are all shot on stage and linked with canal shots in real Venice, in real canals that lead up to that particular palazzo. And then we had additional work that we had to do that was kind of more complicated in terms of the falling into the water, the rescue, and the flashback of the original, kind of the first original crime. And we did that at the underwater stage at Pinewood. So what helped us, because we wanted to be in camera throughout all of this, we built kind of facades and backdrops in on our soundstage work, so that when you looked from inside to outside, you saw something real outside a window rather than a CGI screen. We used real elements of water and rain throughout all of that, and in doing so, that the fog, the mist, the rain, which we had which we added in real Venice as well as real SFX, and in our tank work, meant that we could kind of combine all these shots, hopefully seamlessly, between practical locations, studio locations, underwater work, and tank work, and soundstage work, and give a cohesive interpretation to the landscape. And this landscape of Venice was in kind of a very much a landscape of the human condition of the story.
Well, you guys did such an incredible job with the production design, the cinematography, all the shots, even the way that the music is used. I mean, it's a whole new element to an Agatha Christie story, and it's incredible. Thank you so much for your time, Haris. I really appreciate it. Tremendous insight. Thank you.